Hey now, and welcome down to KC Toy Reviews. We are here today with Clown by Y Studio, aka Twisty from American Horror Story, and in my opinion, one of the most iconic American Horror Story characters ever. And well, I'm sad to say, this piece has some major letdowns. And if you're at all curious about those details, then let's hold each other's hands as tight as we can, and let's dive right the hell goddamn in. Kick me in the balls. All right, so here we are with Twisty. I am a massive fan of this character from American Horror Story. I've watched all the seasons, and I would say he has stood out as far as one of the characters that I remember most out of all those seasons. And well, unfortunate to say, let's get it right out of the way. At a glance, and what everybody's saying in the community is that this thing is a big piece of crap. So the first thing we need to harp on is that Y Studio is doing some outrageous photoshopping with all of their announcement pictures. Whether it be this or Leatherface, what's actually coming into the consumer is looking wildly different from those production pictures. Now, I want to try to be a little bit generous to the price of this piece, but the overall head sculpt in comparison to what Twisty actually looks like, what was advertised, and what is in hand here is, okay, it's a big piece of crap. There might be a few out there that says, oh, it doesn't look that bad, but it really does look pretty bad. This is some amateur work by far. The paint application, the size, the proportion, the way the neck, the mouth, and the head all come together is very, very weird. Something is just severely off with the overall presentation and look of this head sculpt. And then the way these hair pieces are brought on top just reminds me something straight up out of The Simpsons. I'm very disappointed with the quality, I'm very disappointed with the look, especially for a character that I thought would never have been brought to us in a 1/6 scale format. It's just a punch to the gut to see what we were offered and what we now have in hand. I don't want to stay on it too long, but even back here, it's just very amateur paint application. The way the skin helmet and everything is brought together on the face just looks, I'm sorry to say it looks awful. This entire ring piece that sits on his neck, again, it's pretty awful. There should have been a wire or something. The way it sits on him is just really terrible. And in my opinion, the absolute worst part of this entire piece is this goddamn flower. I mean, this looks like an art project that a kid put together at school. I literally mean that. The feel of it, the material, it's an Amazon buy a flower kit or something that my 8-year-old put together at school. I just cannot believe the overall quality, look, and feel of this flower on his chest. I mean, it is so goddamn bad, I'm probably going to rip it off and then just keep this neck piece on without this, because this really bothers me how bad it looks. And then we need to also draw our attention to these two little red buttons on him. Why the hell does this one have yellow hair all over it, and this one doesn't? Is that a mistake? Is that some type of detail from the show that I'm missing? Now, on a positive note, I don't think the overall look of the tailoring on the suit and the arms, the way these hands hold this die cast, I mean, we got to note that we do have this die cast axe here. I don't think it looks that bad. Everybody wants to harp on the Y Studio tailoring and say it's the worst ever. I mean, call me crazy. It's not the worst ever, and it's not great. I'm not going to sit here and boast about it. But in this shot, if you got rid of this third grader work in this weird yellow button here, I think the overall presentation of the chest and the tailoring is not horrible. And then kind of last but not least, his legs. Let's see. Let's see how the articulation out. Of course, they overlooked that. Terrible articulation in the ankles here. He has been a slight balance snack, but I have been able to keep him up too much without taking a face dive. But I don't know. What do we think? The tailoring's not... Again, I don't think it's horrible around the ankles there. It's just nothing to rave about. I do like the slight weathering to the tip of the shoes there, but the weathering overall to this piece, again, we were completely duped by those photoshopped pictures because there was a lot more weathering in this outfit than we have in person here. And just a quick side-by-side with Jason by Sideshow Collectibles. I'll admit, I do struggle a little bit in these segments sometimes where I have a character like Twisty and I say, well, who the hell do I even compare him to? And what makes sense? And while Jason doesn't make too much sense, I think a few things that we can pick up on is immediately quality. The size, the proportions, the overall representation of Jason on the left completely knocks Twisty out of the park. But as we've mentioned several times throughout this video, the overall look and quality of this piece doesn't even come close to some of these higher end companies. And just a brief note on the accessories, this is die cast, this piece is die cast, and then these three juggling pieces are actually wood. Now the reason I kind of stress this is I've noticed on the Y Studio releases is the accessories are fairly decent. Again, this has some decent weight to it. We have this die cast knife with a decent paint application. I think the fact that these are actually wood, they have that slight weathered look to them. We have this blood splattered axe. And then something to note, these hands are actually wrapped with what I feel is a real bandage. I mean, there's an upside and a downside to this. It could fall off immediately, or perhaps Y Studio has done something adhesive-wise to keep this on in the long run. So again, it looks nice. I just see some longevity issues with an actual bandage-wrapped hand. And our crotch grabber stand. Now the stand is heavy as hell. If you saw the unboxing video, I mean this thing, let's see if we can hear it. That has some goddamn weight to it. Now one of the downfalls is you can barely see it. There's grass kind of embedded throughout here. It reminds me of a Gundam diorama. But that grass was everywhere inside the box upon arrival, and there's barely left on the stand itself now. But we do need to give kudos to the team over there because I think the fact that they put the extra mile into a stand included like this is nice. It's not just that piece of crap 1/6 scale Amazon basic stand or companies out there, 3.0, that don't include a stand with their 1/6 scale figures. And there we have it. Clown by Y Studio, aka Twisty from American Horror Story. And well, the question of the day, has Y Studios done us justice? And the obvious answer is no. There are some major blunders with this piece, and it's really unfortunate to say because as I've mentioned in this video earlier, I don't think I ever would have saw, nor do I think we ever will see another version of a 1/6 scale Twisty. Now again, is it the biggest piece of crap ever made? No, not at all. I think to the untrained eye, take a couple steps back, or somebody like me who really loves this character, you might find a little bit of joy in it and you might want to keep it. And there's a few things we do need to harp on. The amount of accessories, the fact that they're die cast, actually wood, the heavy stand, and everything that's included in this piece is a fantastic value for $160. And yes, you heard that right, $160 shipped. You get everything that you see. And there's probably going to be a bunch of jokes out there that say, I wouldn't even pay $100 for this. But personally, I think that's a decent value, especially given that shipping this goddamn piece probably costs $30 alone, if not more. But value aside, I can see that everybody is going to hate on this piece. I probably should have mentioned it earlier and went over it, but I don't think anybody really gives a crap. There are double jointed elbows and double jointed knees on this. So articulation wise, you can pose and do whatever the hell you want with him. There's kind of like this cushiony fat suit underneath, but the quality on those red buttons and that horrible 3rd grade construction project flower on his chest are terrible. The head sculpt, the lengthy neck, the paint application on the face is just very lackluster. I think Y Studios has the great foundation, but clearly we have a little bit to go before we get there. Leatherface was not very well received. We have this one that's not very well received. And my God, Pinhead and the complicated outfit on him being that it's leather, I'm really not sure I can pull the trigger on that upcoming release by Y Studio. So, with all that said, and a lackluster piece in front of us, I think it's a great time to slap a score on this thing. And honestly, what's coming to mind like a lightning bolt hitting the tip of my penile is indeed a 5.7 out of 10. Now, I definitely cannot suggest this piece. And with a bunch of other releases on the way from Y Studios, I hope they are hearing the feedback, the criticism from the community. So, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here today at KC Toys with a 5.7 out of 10 and The Clown by Y Studio. And as I've said earlier, it might not be the biggest piece of crap, but it is indeed a piece of crap. Catch you guys next time. KC out. Brah!